All right, next up, last one of the day and then there's a week. Tract.
I want to ask you guys all a question. How would you feel if your child or your loved one was doing something like this? Texting and driving. Certainly you'd feel somewhat unhappy and maybe even somewhat scared. Texting and driving accounts for 23% of all car crashes. We're here today to try and bring that number down. My name is Blake and we are Tract. With me here today I have
Austin.
I'm Fallon.
And I'm Alan.
Like I said before, the problems that we are trying to solve, for one, is texting and driving. Our major point that we're trying to focus on here is carpool. We also want to focus on time management, and that is, we're also going to be focusing on deliveries and also people who come to your house to work on certain things. Our solution is a GPS-based app in which you plug in the address, and then after plugging in the address, you create a bubble around said address. You then would plug in a custom message which would be sent to the person's house you're going to as soon as you enter into that bubble. I'm going to show you a little example of this just so you guys can get a better understanding. So say I was going to my friend Austin's house. First, I would plug in the address, which is right here. And around that address, you'd create the bubble, which would be maybe 1 mile out of his house. Then all I'd have to do is create the custom message that I want to be sent after getting into the bubble. After that, all I'd have to do is drive safely. I'd drive, and then once I enter into this bubble, the text message would automatically be sent to my friend Austin saying, hey, I'm 5 minutes away, or hey, I'm here. So now, with this, we want to be focusing on 2 customer segments. We chose people ages 16 to 24, for one, because we believe that they are most prone to texting and driving. Also, because they're also not financially stable enough to where they could drive alone, so they may be more prone to carpooling. We also want to focus on delivery services, because we've all been there. We order a pizza, or we have a workman coming to our house, and they tell us, oh, we'll be there between 10 and 12, or oh, we'll be there within the hour. But what we really want to know is when they're exactly going to be there, and our app can help us do that. So I'm going to hand it over to Austin, who will go through our first customer segment.
So our first customer segment are people ages from 16 to 24, and we chose that, as Blake already stated, because they're most prone to texting and driving and carpooling. And 97% of teens agree that texting and driving is dangerous, yet 43% of the teens do it anyway. And another stat we found was teens who text and drive spend 10% of the time outside of their lane. And those are 2 very dangerous facts, and we are trying to fight against that. And obviously we're going to have some competitors, and some indirect competitors we have are some mobile apps, one being On My Way, which is an app where you could plug in your friends or wherever you're going, the address of that place, and then as you're driving, the person has to have the app to actually see, but they could track you while you're going to that destination, and then it would shut off. And then the Safe Driving Text Machine, which is just a basic preset message to send back, such as like, I'm driving, I'll text you later. And then lastly, it's a little more far-fetched, but Find My Friends is made by Apple, and it allows you to track your friends whenever and wherever you want. And we are a texting app, not a tracking app, so that's what makes us different from those competitors. And then we only have one direct competitor, which is Spotty, and that is only on Android. And we are trying to gear ourselves towards Apple and then maybe in the future expand to Android. And also they're very poorly constructed. Our MVP would be a landing page, and our landing page will just have a simple description of the app, the explainer video, and then also a link to buy our app. And our link will just bring you to a page saying our app is under construction, and then leave your email for further updates. And we want about 1,000 clicks on that link to buy, because they're obviously interested if they click that. And our timeline is, we want our explainer video done by February 20th, and we are getting it professionally done. And then also our landing page we want done by February 27th.
Okay, so our second customer segment is delivery services, because how often do you sit down at your house waiting for your pizza to come and just watching the clock because they say they'll be there within the hour or within the next 2 hours, and so you're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and you don't know exactly when they can come. So you can't shower, you can't run and go get your kids from their friend's house, you can't go to the grocery store, you just have to sit there and wait. So our app would solve this problem, because as soon as a delivery service is on their way, or say someone's coming to fix your TV or a cleaning service, as soon as they're on their way, it'll text you saying we're on your way, or we're 10 minutes away from your house. So that way you know I need to prepare for this and I don't have to sit around all day at my house waiting for them to come. Our competitors in this field are Grubhub is one of them, but they're an indirect competitor because they do track. So they'll track a delivery car, and they don't send the text message, they just track the car. And we don't focus on tracking because we want to protect privacy of the people who are doing the deliveries and things like that. Another competitor that we have is some restaurants and some services such as like UPS has started their own service along these lines. So they have shown like tracking, but none of them have done the text message yet. Our minimum viable product for this segment is a concierge, in which we will be going to several different restaurants and riding along with their delivery people. And and so whenever we do these deliveries, so before these deliveries take place, we're going to ask their host to take down the person's cell phone number, so that we can, and then ask them for their consent to allow us to send them the text message that we're on our way. And as soon as they do that, we'll get in the car with them and we'll text them as soon as we leave the restaurant saying that we're on our way to their house. And then we'll take like a poll and kind of see, did the driver find this beneficial? Did the customer who we delivered to find this beneficial? And also, did the restaurant owner find this beneficial as well? We did just talk to Mrs. Green, who's the owner of Wall Street, and she allowed us to do the ride along with her drivers, which our first one's going to be on February 9th. And for that ride along, we're just going to observe and see how deliveries take place and how they go, because none of us have delivered before, so we just kind of want to see how that is run. And then on February 11th, we're actually going to test out our app and see how that works and see if we get positive feedback. We're going to keep running the app and see if we can get more information and talk to more people. And so our goal is to get 4 ride-alongs with 4 different restaurants and as many deliveries as possible. And we'd like to get consent from 2 more restaurants by February 20th.
So we have a fairly large TAM at 15 million people. We got this from calculating the amount of people in the U.S. that have a smartphone, and then seeing the percent of people in the U.S. that are ages 16 to 24, which was about 10%. And then we took about 80% of that, figuring that about 20% either doesn't have a smartphone or doesn't have a phone at all. And then from our SAM, we figured about 1.5 million would be good at 10% of the SAM. We feel that's an easier number to market to and figure out who the exact person we want using our app. So for our costs, we do not have any cost of goods sold because we are an app and it doesn't cost anything to get to the customer. And for SG&A, we have an estimated $3,000 for app updates that we're not getting now, and $240 for advertisements. So for our financials, we're planning on having about $16,000 revenue in year 1. We are going to be acquiring revenue by selling each app for 99 cents. Year 2, we go up to $80,000, and as we keep going, we are going to invest more and more money into advertising. And by year 5, our goal is to have about $880,000, and we are planning on adding more features as we go also. And here's Blake, what we're asking for.
So now that you've heard what our app does and what we're planning on doing, we obviously are going to need a little bit of money to get started. So with this, we're going to need money for advertisements with flyers and posters that we wish to hang in Wall Street to let people know of our concierge service so that we can actually get people to order from Wall Street. And with our concierge service, we're also going to be offering a little thank you, which is going to be like a 2-liter soda pop to each person who participates in the concierge service. So we're hoping for $30 for that. And then, as Austin already previously said, we are having our video being professionally done, and we have found a person who will make our video for $100. And then that video will then go onto our landing page, which in order to get that, we'll need $100 for the subscription fee and the domain name. So this will come to a total of $330. I would like to thank you all so much for your time, and thank you for listening, and I hope you can see the full potential of our company. Thank you.
Does the technology exist today to do this?
Yes, we're going to use a GPS in order to, so once they get in within a certain range, the GPS will then locate them and send the message to the person.
I'm not sure I'm following how, so say you have a, you know, a workman, well, let's just focus on the, I guess, well, a workman, how are you gonna know where, the workman won't necessarily, how do you pinpoint where that workman is and know when he's in your bubble?
We're gonna
When you
track
say
the
GPS, I mean, that's, you know, that's an invasion of privacy. I'm just trying to get past how, you know, tracking where people are without their consent.
Oh no, it's completely with their consent. They're doing it all themselves. So we would make the app and the technology, and what they would do is they plug in the address they're going to, and then around that would be the bubble which they create, which would be, say they want the message sent from a mile out or 2 miles out saying, hey, I'm 5 minutes away, or I'm almost here, so then you can get ready. So they're having the message sent out from a certain distance away.
So you need to convince these businesses to actually use the service.
Yeah,
And
we
sign up
think
for
they'll,
it.
we
Not
think
just
they'll
as-
like the service because it'll make the customers of them more like,
Happy,
yeah.
because they'll know exactly when the service that they
Yeah,
want.
so you started off with texting and driving,
Yeah.
and it's the value proposition is very different than texting and driving.
Well, we think that because of the idea that we have 2 different customer segments, like one of our customer segments was the 16 to 24-year-olds, which we know that a big issue in there is
I'm coming to your
the
friend's
texting
house
driving.
and you'll get.
Yeah, so we wanted to see if we
Yeah,
could
so
get
these
like
are
texting
two
driving.
very different applications, and either way, I don't see that it resolves texting and driving. It might eliminate one text, I'm almost there, but it's not gonna eliminate the inbound and all the clutter and people talking on their phone all day. Now, it's,
No, it might. It might. Once they, let's just hypothesize for a second, when they put that address in, from that point forward, it doesn't take text and says, do not disturb, I'm driving. They could both.
oh, okay, I didn't hear that.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't say
Okay.
that, but
Yeah.
that's an application now, because once you say this little bubble, and I've gone that trouble, I believe you could then block it to say, and an
So I
automatic
guess that it
message.
prevents
That
texting
exists,
if you're
though.
within the
It
law.
says, I'm driving, I cannot text right now, would send that back to them.
And anyway, I think that the problem that you're really solving is enhancing the customer experience on the delivery side,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's on the delivery side, yes.
And so it's really hard to start a business, let alone chasing 2 problems at the same time. I would pick a path on one of these, either the delivery deal or the preventing texting and driving. I think the delivery deal has a higher value proposition because it's a way for a restaurant to differentiate themselves and to add additional customers. So when you go into do this for Wall Street in a couple of days, and you follow and you ask the question to the customer at the end, I would ask them at least 2 questions. One, did you like it? Was it convenient? Did it help? Was it nice? And the second, would it cause you to order from our restaurant over somebody else's? Was it incrementally enough to give us more orders? If that question is yes, restaurants will pay you a lot of money for it. Not a lot, but they'll pay you something for it, I would think.
It's also,
We were planning on giving out like a little sheet with like an email, and then like you could email us back the feedback.
Do it right
Do it right
then,
there.
right at your delivery, great. Hey, by the way, just the driver would go up and say, by the way, was the text helpful? And by the way, would it, all other things being equal, because we text you, would you order from us over the other guy? Well, you gotta get instant, the email thing, you'll have too many people not respond to it, you'll be chasing down people, it'll take too long. It'll actually be a hassle for the, oh my God, now, I didn't know I was a guinea pig on this new product, you know.
Yeah.
You following?
Yeah.
Okay.
But also, there's a potential perhaps for greater efficiency from restaurants, because if the homeowner was, or whoever ordered was texted, they may be more readily available to pay
Yeah.
the driver and move on. So
And they
there
may not
is
call,
maybe
where's
some
my
benefits
order,
there.
and there could be a whole lot of other benefits.
So
I wouldn't give up on the texting for driving, although I understand the complexity of the revenue side. I still think that through yet. Maybe you don't have it fully.
Well, the reason that we were thinking about going to 2 different customer segments like that was because we figured we could solve both of those issues with the same technology, because either way the app would be working the same exact way. But But also if we wanted to implement the stop texting and
Well,
driving.
he's absolutely right. Just having it say we're close doesn't solve your problem. It's
Yeah.
always one text.
Mhm.
So you have to go all in. And I'm with him
The
as well.
bubble would have to be the world.
The bubble would have to, well, yeah. So when you're driving at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they're getting at is, at the end of the day, this is an idea you have to pitch to an investor, and so you kind of have to cater to kind of their worldview, and they're thinking, how am I going to make money on this? And so even though I could hear you, that could be a benefit. You're kind of marketing the idea to a specific mindset, and it might less muddy the picture if you focus on the one that they clearly see what the angle is on making money versus the one that's more of a, I don't know, social welfare or
Pick one.
Yeah.
Let me guess, you guys started off with your problem saying texting and driving is a problem. Was that it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
And you kind of, what typically happens to an entrepreneur is they kind of fall in love with that idea and they want to stick with it. And then along the way, you figured out, wait a minute, there's this thing for delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you quite haven't abandoned it yet.
Yeah.
Correct,
Okay, so
yeah.
now you're in this awkward stage of an entrepreneur of lost focus and being what's called a tweener.
Mhm.
And it's really hard to be a tweener because you ever hear this thing, if you chase two rabbits, both of them get away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what would happen here. So you really want to pick a path, and you want to pick a path that's most viable. And your MVP right now has a ton of traction around the delivery thing, because you got, Mindy and she's ready to do it.
Yeah.
Think about, you can always repurpose that application back to your original problem very easily. But the second problem that you came across has better ways to monetize it and is more appealing to investors.
Okay.
And everybody in the world is trying to tackle the no texting issue.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With another company I'm involved with, it's problematic to wake up an iPhone when it's off, so that you know. So that when you're driving and it's off, to get it to wake up and do something, they pretty much designed it not to be able to do that. So when you go to develop this app, it's complicated on the iPhone, it's not with the Android, just to let you know.
Okay.
Which could be
And
more
by opening
smart.
up, taking it out of your pocket, and turn it on, you just defeated the whole purpose. So just realize that that's a little clunky.
Maybe that's why one of the competitors went in.
Yeah.
Because Android, you can't do it. They won't let you run an app in the background, basically. They've designed it so that you can't, because it drains their battery. So we've stumbled across it, having some problems with another company, just as an FYI.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're,
Yeah, so I think, go back to your
Really well
MVP.
designed, I mean, in terms of what we're going to do with the
Research.
The concierge service.
I wonder if you could, just redo your MVP. You probably don't need as much money, but try to get Wall Street to agree to it like every Saturday night or every Friday, Saturday night for a couple of times, get more data, and just do a ton more concierge. They should love it. I mean, you're volunteering to drive along and text their customers. There's no downside risk for them. It's all that, they would love for you to do that. And I would think that you can, get some more benefit. But the only way you're going to monetize it is the restaurant's going to eventually have to pay you. And how are they going to pay you? If they get more sales. So you have to measure whether it gives you lift, gives them lift, that it becomes this enough of a differentiation point that the text causes you to reorder from them.
either they get more reorders or greater sales because of the service, or they can churn more volume because your driver can deliver to so many more addresses.
And then think about their texting. And by the way, your amount is this, if you want to have it, redo it.
Recommended tip is.
Don't forget me, I'm texting.
So you've got Wall Street
Well,
sales. Who else is in the pipeline?
We were talking about moving on to Cooper's next, and Pizza Factory and Jersey's
Last time.
for our next
Jimmy
one.
John's too?
Yeah, get a
Yeah.
couple more restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be great if each of you had one.
By the way, one way to sell this is, not just you pay more, the restaurant pays you because you're giving them lift.
Mhm.
if you're really successful at it, they have to own it because everybody else is doing it. And if you're not texting and you become the standard, that's where you can make a lot of money. It's just table stakes for the restaurants.
So what?
Congratulations. Good job. Well done.
What components can we lose in this? I mean, do you really need a website for this if you're gonna be testing out the direction?
Yeah, I don't even know if the concierge costs you any money.
Yeah.
Because it's just volunteer time, and you don't really want to promote it at restaurants if you're not going to be doing it consistently.
Yeah, the one thing we did talk about with the concierge, and I don't know what you guys think about this, is we thought about, just like Mindy is like allowing us to use it at her restaurant, we thought about like putting up flyers or even around the high school, just saying like, hey, we're doing this concierge on these days, and if you guys order from Wall Street, then we'll get, bring you some.
Really, do you need to kill a tree, or do you think you could do that through Facebook?
I would do that.
Yeah.
I think I would make this a nice little add-on.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that much of a grabber to get people to order from there. That's not what you're trying to do. You're just trying to have a little sweetener to the experience. We texted you before we got there.
Okay.
And so, try it with the existing group, and
Yeah.
I don't know, you probably need a couple $100 to,
Not-
not even. Just-
Not even.
You need to get more restaurants and do it
Okay.
every weekend
Okay.
between the 4 of you. 5 of you, it's on leave?
No, it's not just us four.
Okay.
Each of you take a restaurant.
Yeah.
So, what's your pay you
What we got?
How much you guys want? Give me
30
everything
minutes.
that
What do you need to
Well,
do? Given
well, what you said
conversation.
before, if we really are not going to be focusing on the texting and driving, we probably would not need the landing page necessarily.
I think we would still need the video to show, like, through social media, maybe.
To whom? Who's your audience that you're gonna show them?
We were actually gonna make a account, I guess, and comment on like Wall Street's and Jersey's like Facebook page.
Do that
The
now.
video has to go to the restaurant. That's now your
Yeah.
customer.
Yeah,
Right.
Everything's changed.
yeah.
So when we like show it to the restaurants, we can show them the video so it's easier to explain.
I don't even think you need a video. You just go in there and say, we're gonna.
You could do a Prezi or a PowerPoint.
Yeah,
I would, if anything, if you were gonna spend any type of money, I would partner with somebody next door to maybe help do a little prototype app for you,
alright.
if you can get there. You know, I don't know how this GPS triggering a text message works, even if it exists. That's your bigger play. Hitting the bubble is generating a text. Somebody has to figure that one out. You're not gonna drive along with restaurants the rest of your life texting people.
I hope not.
So 2 things, go around, do a bunch of tests, we'll give you $100 to do that, it shouldn't cost any more. If you need more, let us know. And then get as many restaurants as you can and try to start thinking about the technology of GPS triggering a text.
Okay.
That's key.
The business is dead if that can't happen.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll get people with like getting a text notification that their food's on the way. I don't think you need to validate that the problem and the solution's good. It's like, will the actual product work and do that? You know, so,
And will the restaurant pay you
yeah, that's the other.
Is there
to
enough?
have that, to sell them that software when it exists?
100.
Got it. Don't you have to let the customers know that they're providing this feature?
Wall
to
Street can do
restaurants?
that.
I don't think so.
Well, Wall Street can do that just
Well,
by
how you
getting
know
the
if you're
phone
gonna get
number.
more, how's Wall Street gonna get more people though if they don't know it's?
If they-
Wall Street's gonna have to get the
They're gonna have-
cell number of somebody when they call, so.
Not the
Say,
landline,
would
the
you,
cell.
would you like us to
Okay.
text you when your delivery's on its way?
So just have the host tell the delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mindy said that she would do that.
Can you
That
also
one,
make
it is
Wall
a
Street
monthly
be the
fee.
advertiser? They should advertise this.
where the restaurant pays.
Then you'll know if you're gonna get more customers,
Yes.
right?
They're
If they know
that's
we-
why they're just selling to the.
Okay.
We just put on a
That's
flyer.
the badge
Yeah.
that they put
Because
on
if they're
their
normally
website.
getting 30 customers
They're
on
a
Saturday,
subscription fee.
and they're gonna do this on Saturday, no one knows they're doing it, they should still
And that
get
would
30
be
customers.
encouragement to only go to Tract like food website.
Yeah,
versus restaurant.
but that'll be only those 30 people that know. I'm just
Keep
saying,
all
Wall
the
Street
text
can
numbers.
advertise it.
Anyone you text something to, keep their number. There might be a play with the data here, that the restaurant might say, great, we're gonna do a promotion, I'm gonna text all my repeat deals and say, guys, we got keeps on sale, or You know, that they might pay to have that outreach later.
Yeah.
Well, your open rate on texting is so much higher than email.
Yeah.
It's like phenomenal.
So, and if you're gonna collect all the texts,